On the 10th of May 1940, at exactly 8 o'clock in the morning, 4 brave and determined young soldiers took a resolute stand at this very location. In the period preceding this, these 4 soldiers, along with 8 comrades, had valiantly held off an overwhelming force of 700 German soldiers, here in a small bunker. I am Remco Meyer, a reservist in the National Reserve Corps, which is a component of the Armed Forces of the Netherlands. A reservist is an individual who serves as part of the military on a part-time basis while also holding a regular job. And if I had lived during the time of World War II, the chances were very high that I would have fought here. And that's why I want to know what happened here. The future could have been different. Adolf Hitler had plans to attack the Netherlands on January 17, 1940, but it never happened. The time was already known. It was exactly 7:36 in the evening, as previously determined. But a German plane had to make an emergency landing in Belgium, carrying the invasion documents for the Netherlands. As a result, border security was immediately tightened, and the tension among the Dutch soldiers was high. Youth in the vicinity here were ice skating and were fired upon by the Dutch military at their border checkpoint because they thought they were Germans.
Oops. Hello. I have a cup of coffee for you here. Oh, great. Here you go. Thank you. Enjoy it, right? The hospitality is still good here. Thank you.
No problem.
Despite the excellent hospitality, the inevitable occurrence happened rapidly. Germany invaded the Netherlands. I am walking here in Germany at the moment. And then, on May 10th, 1940, it was a chilly and foggy morning, approximately 6 degrees. And we have precise knowledge of the exact location where the Germans entered the Netherlands. That was actually here, at border post 134. And this post is the original post from that time. There were meadows with a slope. The Germans positioned themselves behind this slope, which enabled them to launch the attack on the Netherlands at exactly 3:30 in the afternoon. The goal was to ensure the security of the bridges.
Sehr gut. Gut vor, links und rechts. Ausbrechen.
The goal was to ensure the security of the bridges. The bridges were given names based on the names of their respective bridge keepers. Bridge Hans, Bridge Soterbier, and Bridge Noppert are the names of 3 bridges that can be found in the nearby vicinity. In the cold morning of May 10th, 1940, at 3:20 a.m., Soldier Henstra was stationed here, fulfilling his duty as a guard at the Bridge of Hans, which is now a historical landmark. He looked in the direction of Germany, knowing that is where the Germans would come from if they were to come. He saw silhouettes there, helmets. The Germans were approaching.
Scheiße!
And in the chaos that ensued, the Germans started shooting. Dutch people fled, leaving their weapons behind and running away. In the chaos, they almost forgot to blow up the bridge. Putting his own life in danger, he lit the fuse while the Germans fired at him. And shortly after, the bridge here at hand exploded. There must have been a tremendous blast. Hans's house got destroyed. Subsequently, in the north, the bridges of Zoetermeer and Noppert would also be taken out. However, that did not occur. And what was the reason for it not happening? At the precise moment when the bridge at Hans's location was detonated, 2 Messerschmitts flew over this area near the Zoetermeer bridge. Roaring loudly, they fly over and drop 2 bombs to create a thick smoke screen. Nearby, we see 2 soldiers, Snip and Statham, who are ready for action. I can imagine that those boys are so scared at that moment because they also see that commando group approaching. Around 15 men are heading towards us to secure the bridge. Statham pulls out his long match to light it up. He tries, fails, then he takes his life, tries, sees they're coming, probably already fired at. So the tension is palpable for those 2 boys. And he, yes, luckily, he grabs the ballon. Snip, who runs in that direction towards the monastery, and Steedham, he goes there. He sprints in that direction and takes cover in a ditch, waiting anxiously for the impending explosion to occur. However, it is not present. It continues to be silent, and then all of a sudden, he hears the heavy footsteps of the Germans. They are drawing closer. They have successfully located him. He is unable to escape from their grasp. Then he realizes, okay, I have to surrender. They come out of the ditch with their hands raised towards the Germans. And then he witnesses the Germans standing with weapons aimed at him. He realizes, okay, they have the ability to shoot him at any moment. However, they choose not to.
Wir brauchen ihn. Mitkommen, du.
Because they require his presence. Because there is a dangerous minefield filled with explosive devices just ahead. And they require his presence in cities in order to clear these areas. Because it is better for a Dutchman to lose his life there, rather than one of their own people losing their life. At this moment, I am definitely in that area, and I have to say, it is truly unbelievable and astonishing. Captain Berenschot, commander of the units here in Coevorden, listened attentively to his radio. He heard absolutely nothing. There was absolutely no communication remaining with Sergeant Verhagen, the commander of the Noppert Bridge. And what the captain also did not have knowledge of was that the bridge was already in the possession of the Germans. Subsequent to that, Lieutenant Kuipers was given instructions to send a patrol in the direction specified. Drenthe, aged 20, and Veenstra, aged 21, cycling towards the Noppert Bridge. There was still a significant amount of noise. Airplanes, bombings, there was gunfire and shooting. These boys were filled with fear. I would be terrified as well. 400 meters prior to reaching the bridge, they caught sight of the mines ahead. Soldiers, fortunately, our own comrades.
Aber woher kommen Sie dann?
Bayern.
Und wo aus Bayern?
Hans,
Ja?
schau mal. Da kommen 2 niederländische Soldaten.
Wir können Sie als Schießübung verwenden.
Das ist ein ausgezeichneter Plan. Warte. Offenes Feuer!
Because then shots were fired. They were Germans, and Veenstra turned his bicycle cart in panic because Drenthe had fallen dead on the ground. Veenstra escaped, but he also got struck, and his lifeless body plummeted to the ground, devoid of any signs of life. The initial 2 casualties took place in Coevorden. Subsequently, the German forces advanced towards Coevorden, stepping over the lifeless bodies of the deceased individuals lying on the ground. But they did manage to take their last breaths. What cowardly fools. This is disrespectful. Through this farm, the small shear, which was already present in 1940, the Germans advanced towards the Goselink Bridge, located nearby, in their pursuit of strategic objectives. The Goselink Bridge was secured and protected by a bunker. Well, it was protected by a bunker. It appeared to be more like a large mound of dirt, consisting of various beams and planks that were haphazardly arranged. Inside this bunker were 4 soldiers, a gunner, and 4 carbines. In close proximity to the opening, there were an additional 8 soldiers lying down on the ground. In the distance, they heard an explosion at one particular moment. Hans's bridge had gone up into the air. The commander of this unit, Sergeant van der Baren, could not establish contact with Coevorden, with the commander there. In the end, he chose to blow up the bridge himself, since they knew the Germans were coming this way and there was no other option. A short time later, the initial scouts were sighted by the observers in the area, marking their first appearance. 30 minutes have elapsed, and it is currently 4:30 in the morning. A total of 12 scouts are now approaching the bridge, making steady progress in their journey.
Je geht zu die Brücke.
Sehr gut.
Het zijn Duitsers. Ze komen eraan. Het zijn de Duitsers.
Wachten! Nog niet schieten! Nog niet! Wacht tot ze dichterbij zijn! Nou, wacht hier.
The Dutch opened fire. The first contact of fire is a fact, and they can't turn back anymore.
Vuur! Open het vuur! Dekkel! Dekkel! Nach voren! Silent schieten! Ausbrechen! Links en rechts! Ausbrechen! Links en rechts! Schieten! Nach voren! Schieten! Dekkel! Voren! Schieten! Dood!
Meanwhile, behind the monastery, in the area near Coevorden, a large unit of 700 men is gathering with mortars and armored vehicles. They position themselves here, behind at the S-curve, to then carry out mortar fire. On the small bunker of Sergeant van Baren, and I can imagine that these men who were here were very scared. They had no prior experience. The mortars hit from all sides. Wood splinters scattered. Men in open stance had 0 chance of survival. They had no protection, so they departed. They did not communicate this to the individuals in the underground shelter. The escape route was severed. They had lost communication with Coevorden. St. John Barons and the 3 individuals were left to fend for themselves. A bit further stood the house of the Hilbrink family. The Germans had by this time made a flanking maneuver, their numbers, and had taken the residents of Hilbrink out of the house. With them was Gina, who was 18 years old, from your house. She was the neighbor girl down the street. They were supposed to go towards the Van Groslingbrug with a 7th person, as a form of human debt. You heard it correctly indeed. Human guilt, indeed the Germans did. At one point, they were in close proximity to the bridge, approximately 200 meters away. But they were shot at by their own people on that side by the Germans. They sought cover here in this ditch, and Gina, who felt something in her back, an incredible pain, a sharp pain, and she felt nauseous. It transpired that she had been shot in the back by German fire. The firefight lasted an hour, and the Germans just trampled over her like wild dogs. Her body was covered in bruises. After 1 hour, there was a break in the fighting, and Gina was taken to the hospital located in Coevorden. In the end, we have knowledge that Gina managed to survive these injuries she had sustained. The time was 7:30 in the morning. A patrol from Germany, consisting of soldiers on horseback, was making their way towards Coevorden with the intention of crossing at the lock. There was no resistance that remained here in Coevorden, as the Dutch had already departed towards the Kuhlijn River. They could easily cross at this point, and taking advantage of the Café Hofmeyr for concealment, they could proceed towards the Goselink bridge. The patrol that had crossed the lock in Coevorden had by this time already arrived at this location. At the Café Hofmeyr, which was previously known as the Café. They had stabled the horses there and had taken cover behind the café for protection. At the moment they were about to attack the Germans, the owner, Mr. Hofmeyr, came out with a white flag. It was not a white flag, it was more like a part of a pram.
Niet schieten! Niet schieten! Niet schieten! Wat? Niet schieten! Weg zijn ze! Niet schießen! Niet schießen!
The Germans on that side observed it. The Dutch were never able to see that. But they stood up and the Dutch opened fire. The Germans were furious, abusing a white flag. Swine dogs were called, but this caused so much confusion that there was another firefight, and the Germans who were here could not advance towards the bunker. Wow.
Voorwaarts, mannen! Voorwaarts, we zien daar! Houd die lijn! Houd die lijn! Blijf schießen! Blijf schießen! Sergeant, mag ik overal op schieten? Ja, ik mag je ook over schieten. Het is oorlog! Oké. Schießen! We zien daar, we haben ihn!
Benutze! Benutze!
Nach voren! Wir haben sie!
It is 8 o'clock. The ammunition is depleting rapidly. We are running out of bullets, and shortly after, the last cartridge leaves the barrel of the gun. The situation is over. He has run out of ammunition. The men are aware that they have no choice but to surrender. They attach a white saddlecloth to their rifle and emerge from the bunker, just moments prior to the Germans' intention of hurling a hand grenade into the bunker.
Politie! Ik heb de laatste kogel!
Niet schieten!
Halt! Weiße Fahne, halt!
Wir haben sie!
Bringen die Niederlande hier!
Laufen!
Nach die Brücke! Und umdrehen!
Halt!
Und die Waffen
And
aufnehmen!
there they stand, the four of them, by the bridge, hands in the air, surrounded by Germans. A very peculiar atmosphere, because the Germans even bestow compliments upon them. They believe they fought with the bravery of lions. That's war, they say. But there is also surprise among the Germans, because they had expected that there were many more, that units from Coevorden were here. That was not the situation. However,
Gekämpft! Sie haben unseren Offizier getötet! Sie haben die weiße Flagge missbraucht!
Nee, heb ik niks gedaan.
Das Ding! Wir schreien uns!
then the mood starts to change. It becomes grim. One of the commanders mentions the white flag that was used, and there are mentions of using tracker dogs and on-the-spot executions, casualties. The boys here, the soldiers from the Dutch bunker, are afraid for their lives. Not that the Germans, by the way, were any more superior with their burden of human guilt.
Wie sollen sie schießen?
Nein,
Waffen anlegen.
Nein.
Bereit machen.
The mayor of Coevorden, Mayor Gauss, was on his way from Coevorden to warn the men that Coevorden had been evacuated when he received news of the evacuation in progress. But he was too late. The battle had already started, and he could only seek cover at the bridgekeeper's house, a little further down. From there, he could see exactly what was happening here, including the incident with the white flag. When the battle was over, he hurried to get here. And he then saw that the Germans were in the process of, or planning to, execute the Dutch soldiers.
Bereit machen! Waffen nieder! Was hast du?
He then explained that the Dutch could never see that flag. The Germans then went into the bunker to see if this was the case. And indeed, it was never visible from that bunker. And this is what ultimately saved the Dutch. They were subsequently transported to Crimea. Benstra and Van Baren were detained for a period of 1 month in a concentration camp, which was actually a highly perilous camp, located in Viersum, 50 kilometers east of Emmen. And Viersen later became one of the most infamous prisoner of war camps that existed. I have great admiration for these 4 Dutch soldiers, how they were able to endure 700 Germans, so that the position at the Afsluitdijk had more time to prepare for the German attack. By the way, the Afsluitdijk was the only place in Europe where the Germans could not pass through.